Hello there, lovely ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tariana Rocha. I'm a psychoanalyst, a coach, and specifically I help children of narcissists understand and overcome childhood narcissistic abuse. In today's video, I want to talk about a very important lesson I learned around love involving my cat, which I then applied to self-love. Now, I'm going to tell you a story, and then I'm going to link this story to how to love yourself, particularly when you think you're not worthy of love. I had this kitty cat. His name was Wira. He was 11 years old. He was a big, furry, white cat. And at some point, he had kidney disease. Now, I was going through a period in my life where there's a lot going on. By the time I figured out that he had kidney disease and took him to the vet, it was too late. Soon enough, he reached kidney failure, and he actually passed away. But I want to tell you the story of how this happened. I was talking to a friend of mine on the first floor of my house, and I was like, Samara, there's not much I can do. I'm pretty sure he's gonna die. And she answered, Tari, maybe your job right now is just to offer him love, because maybe that's what he needs in his passing. At that exact moment, this urgent need to go see Wira, my kitty cat, came over me. It was almost like I heard this little voice in my head that said, stop talking to Samara, drop everything, go to the second floor to your room, right now. And I just felt this need to rush. So I was like, Samara, I'll talk to you later. And then I ran up to my room. And right before entering my room, that same little voice was like, hey, Tari, remember that Reiki initiation that you went through? So I had recently done this Reiki initiation, and I was learning how to send loving energy, loving healing energy for myself, to other people. And I was like, yeah, I remember that. Get into a loving state of mind before walking into the room. And I obeyed the voice. I was like, okay. So I paused and I started going over what I had learned in my Reiki initiation, and I kind of channelized that state. And interestingly enough, I was able to do it. I entered a sort of state of grace, a state of love. And as I walked into my room, I was filled with that love. And then I looked below my bed and I could see half of my kitty cat's body. And he was still alive. And as I came closer to him and I started doing the Reiki, and this is not about whether you believe in Reiki or not. I'm gonna talk about what this is about in a little bit. As soon as I put my hand right over his little body, his hind paws went like this, shook a little bit, and then off he went. For some reason, I was able to maintain this state of grace, of utter love, for a few moments more. And as I walked away from his body, I got this interesting impression that even though on the one hand, I'd been terrified, I was scared. I didn't want to see my 11-year-old cat die. I didn't want to say goodbye to him. I was so scared. Yet every time that the terror would pop up in me, my capacity to respond lovingly would envelop this terror and always be bigger than the terror. It was almost as if, imagine like a bowl and an apple in the bowl. Imagine that the terror is the apple. And imagine that it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. If it just keeps getting bigger, the bowl won't be enough, right? But imagine it's like a magical bowl. And the bigger the apple gets, the bigger the bowl gets. So doesn't matter how big the apple / terror / pain / fear, whatever, gets. The dynamics here are the bowl that envelops it is always bigger. And I was able to observe in those moments how even though the terror was coming, the state of love would be like, what? So the terror is this big? Well, I can make my capacity for love be even deeper. If it's this big, I'll be even deeper. If it goes this far, then I'll go even farther. So it didn't matter how much terror I felt. I was able to envelop that terror with a greater and greater capacity for love. And in doing so, I was able to to face that moment. Well, anyway, after my kitty passed away, I walked into the bathroom. I was still in that state of love, but then all of a sudden I started crying and wailing and just like sobbing. And finally it hit me. My kitty was gone. But I never forgot the clear impression I had that even though my discomfort and fear was great, there was this other thing inside me, this other voice that was like, you can love in an even bigger way. Your love can go even further. And then it hit me. This is what self-esteem looks like. This is how self-esteem works. You know, when you're the child of a narcissist, oftentimes you've developed this really toxic perfectionism, which basically means that you never cut yourself some slack. You're just never good enough. And then when we look for healing with this perfectionistic mindset, what we end up doing is shooting ourselves in the foot, because we take that perfectionism to the healing path and we're like, if I just get healed enough, if I work on myself, one day I won't be so despicable and disgusting and I will be able to love myself. And this is a very backwards way of doing it, because it actually works the other way around. When you feel disgusted at yourself, when you feel resentment towards yourself, anger, disappointment, whatever you feel, that's your pain. And there is inside you a capacity to respond with love to that pain. But if that pain gets really big, Tari, are you telling me that I have a capacity to respond with even greater love? That's exactly what I'm telling you. I'm telling you that self-esteem is not telling yourself one day you will be good enough to accept yourself. Self-esteem is looking at yourself right now with all your insecurity, with all your confusion, with all of the crap you've done to yourself and to other people in the past, with all of your shortcomings and mishaps, with all of the standards that you set for yourself that you did not reach. And in that big mess, instead of being like, when I'm better, I'll be able to accept myself, you look at that huge bundle of crap and you're like, if this is my pain, well, my capacity to respond with love is even deeper, is even bigger than my pain. And if your pain grows, if this is my pain today, then today my capacity to respond with love is even bigger than this. So what does that look like in practice? Well, in practice, instead of telling yourself, I'll work on myself real hard and eventually I won't be so despicable and I'll be able to accept and love myself, you tell yourself, oh, look at this hot mess. Well, you know what? I don't care that I didn't reach my own high standards. I don't care that I made the same mistake that I make every day. I'm aware and I'm on a healing process and I'm taking steps every day, but I don't care if I was imperfect. I don't give a damn if I didn't reach my own expectations. I choose to love myself. Oh, but you don't deserve this love. You're not good enough. My capacity to respond to this pain with self-love is always greater than the inner critic. You can't accept yourself. You're not good enough. You have to work on yourself to be able to love yourself. That's my pain screaming. And every pain that screams is really a scream for love. Every sort of weird, violent, hostile behavior we have towards ourselves or others is really a call for healing. So we're not going to misinterpret it anymore. And we're not going to be like, oh, look, I'm imperfect. I deserve to whip myself until I stop being imperfect. We're going to be like, look at that. I'm judging myself, criticizing myself, telling myself I'm not good enough. You know how I'm going to respond to this? I don't care. I'm going to treat myself well, even though I didn't reach my own high standards. I don't care how big my inner critic is. I don't care how big my confusion is. I don't care how big my anguish is, my guilt, my shame. I decide that my ability to respond lovingly to my own pain will always envelop the pain. Did you get that? Did it make sense? So I want to summarize a couple things. Number one, you can't gain self-esteem with the mentality that one day you'll work on yourself and you'll be good enough to accept yourself. Self-esteem comes from looking at the hot mess you're in and deciding, I don't give a damn. I deserve love, even if all of the voices in my head are like, no, you don't. It's a decision. My self-love is bigger than all of this. So that's the first thing. You got to accept yourself in the hot mess that you're in and send yourself loving energy. And the other thing I want to summarize from this video is there is something inside you that can respond with love. When you think that it's not possible, that the pain is too great, I urge you to interpret that pain as a cry for love. And I urge you to stimulate yourself to have an appropriate response. Don't abuse and abandon yourself like people have been doing to you since you were a little kid and you couldn't defend yourself. So I have lots of stories in my life that teach me about love and about healing. And I want to know, how did this story impact you? Did it make sense, what I told you first and foremost? Can you get it, that you can't have self-esteem by considering that you have to work on yourself first in order to get the self-esteem? Does it make sense that love is a decision? It's a radical decision. It's a revolutionary decision. Because everybody and his neighbor and the neighbor's dog is going to tell you you're not good enough because of this and that and that. Can you respond with love that is even greater than your inner critic? Let me know in the comments below. If you're into this sort of healing work, you might be interested in the Inner Mastery Lab. It's a 10-week program, or rather a 10-module program that helps children of narcissists fully understand what childhood narcissistic abuse causes and also understand the practical steps towards healing. So you can finally have this capacity to respond with love no matter the mess you're in. Let me know how these thoughts impacted you, if any insights came up, if you agreed, if you disagreed. Let me know your comments in the space below.